It all started on a regular Monday morning. I woke up feeling refreshed, but something was different. I realized my phone wasn't in my hands, or even on my bedside table. Usually, the first thing I do after waking up is scroll through social media, check messages, and watch short videos. But this time, there was nothing. I felt a mix of curiosity and anxiety. What would I do with myself without my phone for an entire day? The thought was both exciting and a little frightening. I got out of bed slowly, stretching my arms and feeling the morning sunlight touch my face. I looked around my room, noticing things I had never paid attention to before. My books were stacked neatly, my clothes hung perfectly, and even the plants on my windowsill looked greener in the morning light. Without my phone, I started my day more intentionally. I made my bed carefully, something I usually rush through while checking notifications. It felt strangely satisfying. I decided to have breakfast without any distractions. Normally, I would scroll on my phone while eating, but now I focused completely on my food. I noticed the colors of my toast, the steam rising from my coffee, and the crunch of my cereal. It was a small, mindful moment that made me realize how often I eat mechanically, without paying attention. I even talked to my family, asking about their morning, something I rarely do because I am glued to my phone. The conversation flowed naturally, and I actually remembered their stories better because I was fully present. After breakfast, I went for a short walk around the neighborhood. Without my phone, I had no music or podcast to distract me, so I listened to the sounds around me. The chirping of birds, the distant traffic, and even the wind rustling through the trees. For the first time in a long while, I felt connected to my surroundings rather than to a screen as I walked. I reflected on how much time I spend on my phone daily. Checking emails, replying to messages, scrolling social media, watching videos, it all adds up. I realized that a phone is not just a tool. It has become a habit, almost an extension of myself. Without it, the quietness felt strange at first, but gradually it became peaceful. I even felt a slight sense of freedom. I decided to take this day seriously, as an experiment to understand my own habits better. I made mental notes of things I usually miss while on my phone. The way sunlight hits the walls, the sounds of the neighborhood, the small gestures of people around me. Each moment felt more vivid. Returning home from my walk, I felt energized. I decided to pick up a book I had been meaning to read for weeks, but never did because I was always on my phone. Sitting by the window, I opened the book and started reading. The words seemed to come alive because there was no distraction. I read for a long time, and for the first time, I lost track of time in a productive way. It felt fulfilling. I also tried journaling, writing about how I felt without my phone, my thoughts, and the observations I had made during my morning. Writing things down made me realize how often I just think superficially when I am scrolling endlessly on a screen. I even tried meditating for a few minutes, focusing on my breathing and clearing my mind. The morning, which usually passes in a blur of notifications, felt long, meaningful, and surprisingly joyful by the time lunchtime came. I had already experienced a mini transformation. I felt calmer, more aware, and more in control of my own time. I even cooked my lunch, experimenting with ingredients and recipes I had ignored before because I was too busy scrolling. Eating mindfully, talking to family, and observing my surroundings made the experience richer. I realized that my phone, while useful, often distracts me from simple joys. I promised myself that I would carry the lessons of this morning forward into the rest of the day. After lunch, I faced the biggest challenge, filling the afternoon hours without my phone. Usually, this is the time when I scroll endlessly on social media or watch videos to relax. But now, there was nothing. I felt a mix of restlessness and curiosity. I decided to use this time creatively. First, I went outside to sit in the garden. The sun was bright, and the air felt fresh. I simply observed my surroundings. I noticed the flowers, the colors, and even the little insects moving around. Without my phone, my mind started wandering in a positive way, thinking about my goals, ideas for future projects, and things I usually ignore because I am distracted. Next, I tried doing some house chores. Normally, I find chores boring and always use my phone to entertain myself while doing them. But today, I focused entirely on the task. Washing dishes, cleaning the floor, and organizing my room became almost meditative. I found satisfaction in finishing tasks completely and efficiently. I realized that even simple activities can be enjoyable if you are present and engaged. Around mid-afternoon, I felt a little lonely without my phone. I missed chatting with friends or checking notifications. But then, I decided to call one of my close friends using a traditional phone call instead of texting. The conversation was different, slower, more personal, and more meaningful. We laughed, shared stories, and I realized how much depth is missing in digital messaging compared to real conversations. This small interaction reminded me that human connection doesn't need constant online presence, that I also decided to revisit a hobby I had neglected, sketching. I grabbed a pencil and paper and started drawing. At first, my hands felt rusty, but gradually I enjoyed the process. I didn't check my phone once. Instead, I was fully immersed in creating. By the end, I had a small sketch that I felt proud of. This made me think about how much time I waste on my phone instead of doing things that give me. Later, I explored new activities for mental stimulation. I solved puzzles, read articles in a magazine, and even tried writing a short story. Each activity kept my mind active and gave me a sense of achievement. I noticed that without the constant pull of notifications, my concentration improved, and I could focus deeply on one task at a time. It was a surprising realization because I always thought I needed my phone for entertainment or productivity. By the end of the afternoon, I felt calmer and more satisfied than I had felt in months. I realized that a phone is a tool, but it should not control our time. Simple activities, hobbies, and real conversations can bring more happiness and fulfillment than endless scrolling. I made a mental note to incorporate phone-free time into my daily routine regularly. As evening approached, I sat down to reflect on the entire experience so far. The day without my phone had been eye-opening. I felt a mixture of pride, relief, and even joy. I started thinking about my typical day and how much time I unconsciously give to my phone. Social media, messaging apps, videos, and notifications dominate my attention, and I rarely take the time to enjoy life without them. Today, that pattern was broken, and I felt free. I spent the evening engaging in relaxing activities. I cooked a light dinner, trying new recipes and focusing on flavors, smells, and textures. It was a simple but enjoyable task, made more meaningful because I was fully present. I realized that I often rush meals while staring at a screen, missing the joy of cooking and eating. Today was different. I savored every bite and appreciated the process. After dinner, I sat in my living room and simply observed the world outside. The sky turned shades of orange and pink as the sun set. Normally, I would capture a photo or scroll through social media to document the moment, but today, I just enjoyed it. The colors were more vivid, the wind more refreshing, and the moment felt truly mine. I felt a deep sense of connection with nature and my surroundings, which is rare in my usual phone-driven life. I also thought about my relationships. Without my phone, I reached out to family members and had meaningful conversations instead of texting short messages. I realized that human connection is more fulfilling when it's direct and personal. Even a short conversation can create a stronger bond than hours spent chatting online. I made a mental note to prioritize these interactions in the future. Later, I tried some light exercise. Without my phone, I had no music or distraction, so I focused entirely on my movements, breathing, and posture. It felt refreshing and calming. I realized how much I rely on my phone even for activities that don't need it. Being present in each moment made the experience more enjoyable and satisfying. As night approached, I journaled about my feelings, lessons, and insights from the day. Writing helped me organize my thoughts and reflect on what I had learned. The main lesson was clear. While phones are useful, they often distract us from simple joys, human connections, and self-awareness. Today, I had a chance to experience life more fully without a phone, and it was enlightening.